In this episode of the podcast, we talked to Zac Watson. Zac is an Australian-born photographer and videographer living here in Bali, and he has found success through social media. He attributes his change from photography to videography to social media, and he gives us a lot of insights into how to grow, where photography and videography fits into that growth, and where the market trends lie and where they might go in the future. We talked a lot about this, but we also spoke a little bit about his own inspirations and what his own future holds in this space. I hope you enjoyed the chat as much as I did. Zac Watson, welcome, mate. Welcome to the Move podcast.
Thank you, mate.
Great to have you here. It's been a long time coming, actually. I don't know you as well as kind of the rest of the group. I know when I've been here, you generally haven't been here, and vice versa. So it's great to have you in the same place at the same time as me and on the podcast. So welcome.
Mate, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. This studio has shaped up very, very well.
Taken some time, but the lessons of being patient and just giving it everything and no compromises. I think we're pretty proud of it. So this is just kind of the latest addition to the studio. So hopefully, and it will build out more. But it's such a joy to be able to sit here across from fellow amazing artists like yourself, and just
say the same thing back to you.
Speaking of which, tell everyone who you are, what you do, how you got here, etc.
Perfect. I'm Zac Watson. I'm a travel photographer, a travel videographer. I do marketing, e-commerce stuff. I dabble in content creation for businesses, companies, B2B work, a little bit of agency work, all that kind of stuff. In a nutshell, I guess that's what I do. So I wear a few hats, but my main focus at the moment, by far, I also educate. My main focus by far is my personal brand. Everything else, slowly but surely, is, I guess, starting to leave and kind of dribble out of my life. Unless it's something I really want to work on, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably just say no. And I'm blessed to be in this position. I've always wanted to be in a position like this. So to see my Zac brand grow and develop into what it is today, and obviously what it could be in 6, 12, 18 months, whatever the case, man, I'm pumped. So that's my main focus at the moment, is to just produce the best content that I can, travel as much as possible, shoot as much as possible, and then on the flip side to that, also educate as much as possible through YouTube, TikTok, and Reels. I've had an absolute blast over the last 3 years doing that. Give or take 3 years. Yeah, 2019.
Wow.
End of 2019 was when TikTok, I guess, started to really gain some traction. I had no idea what I wanted to do. A shout out to Luca Peterson. Him and I have really done this whole journey together through TikTok, Reels, and YouTube Shorts.
Who's winning?
Ooh, look, he'll definitely take it on TikTok for sure. I'll give him that. YouTube, he cannot keep up. He just doesn't want to post. He just doesn't understand how to schedule. I've told him many times, but consistency is where it's at. And then Instagram, more or less, I would say we're pretty even on that front. But between the travel content and the cinematic stuff that I love doing, that's like the burning passion inside, and then the educating stuff as well, which is more or less just giving back to the people that taught me. Like, I learned everything through online videos, YouTube, whatever the case. So being able to do that as well to other people and other creators that are starting their own journey and trying to get to a place similar to me, similar to my friends, the people I know, like yourself, it's just wholesome. You know what I mean? And all these platforms right now, they're covered in this shit content. You know, like don't get me wrong, like, you know, everyone's on their own hustle, they're doing their own thing, but at the same time, like, you can only watch someone shaking their ass for however many hours a day before it's just so mind-numbing, and who knows what it's going to be doing to these kids' brains or whatever the case. Man, that's a conversation for a whole
we're going to get
day.
to it.
I love that. But yeah, just being able to give 30 seconds to a minute worth of educational content a day on all these 3 platforms is something like very just rewarding. Like, I like it a lot.
And this is usually my viewpoint of you. It's funny that I'm sat across the desk because I see you on YouTube and Instagram all the time, giving back, giving really cool little tips that are bite-sized but useful. And I think you've nailed it with that kind of the education side of it, whether it's short form, long form, whatever. I certainly take a lot from it, and it sounds like a lot of people do anyway. So,
man, I appreciate that a lot.
Rewind back a little bit. Like there's a lot to unpack in terms of your, what you do. What is the WhatsApp brand? If you were to describe it, what is that vision and the why behind what you do?
I'm not sure if there's a complete vision or a why behind it. The WhatsApp brand in general is to just bring beautiful visuals.
Okay.
I just really enjoy it. I love being able to go to a place, shoot some stuff. Maybe some of it's unique. Maybe some of it's super generic that everyone's already shot. Mixing it together. I feel sometimes when I'm watching different video creators, when I'm looking at different people's photos and whatnot, I don't know what is inspiring about it. It just kind of hypes me up, and I love that. I love being able to do that. And with that being said, of course, there's all the other benefits that come from that as well. So it's not just about bringing beautiful visions and whatnot like that. It's getting people keen and eager to travel. It's getting people excited to start their own journey. Look at that and go, man, that's something that I want to do. I want to be able to go out there with my friends, create beautiful videos, and just be like, damn, this is cool. Share it with the world. So I'm not sure if there's a huge kind of why or reason behind it. I saw other people doing it. I said, hey, that's sick. I want to do that. I started doing it. And now, hopefully, and I mean, from the messages I get somewhat fairly regularly, it seems like I'm doing that for other people as well. And that's dope. It's cool. I enjoy the process a lot as well, which is something super important. Like, if you don't enjoy the process, regardless if you enjoy the outcome, like, man, you're going to burn out real quick. So that's the travel side of things, and the education stuff. I mean, that's just purely being able to provide value to people, especially starting out. I'm not targeting the top end of town with the people that have been doing it for 10 years. I haven't been doing it for 10 years, so I can't dive into crazy in-depth specifics, and people don't want to learn that stuff on Reels and TikTok either.
No,
you got to understand who's watching this and who's, like, what eyes it's being put in front of. So in a whole, that's kind of the WhatsApp brand. And I love it, man. It's definitely a personal brand, but then with the education stuff, it's kind of starting to peel off into its own little thing, which is amazing. Especially with YouTube as well, like, that's starting to pick up. We just crossed 11,000 subscribers. A week ago, we just hit 10,000.
Sweet, buddy.
So I'm like, mate, this is sick. I hit 11,000 yesterday, and it's I think we've gained like nearly 120 or something overnight, which is, to me, it's crazy. I've been creating content on YouTube since I was like 11 or 12, right? And not consistently.
And you're what, 14, 15 now?
You bastard. I'm 23 now, nearly 24.
Wow, you've been doing YouTube for over 10 years.
It's like half my life.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I always knew, and I always wanted to make it work. And I can remember I would see these people that are succeeding in any way possible. It could be succeeding with 1,000 subscribers, with 1,000,000 subscribers. That doesn't matter. And I was like, man, that's crazy. I just don't know how to get there, right? I just don't understand. Like, how can this happen to me? I don't get it. And I had that mentality for a while, and it would be, especially during high school. I started high school when I was 11, so I would start a channel. People at school would find out about it, right? And this is gaming stuff. Like, man, what else are you doing at 11, right?
Masturbating and porn and gaming.
Probably not going to put that on YouTube though, right? So I had to take a segment.
Some
from
people
my
might
life.
want to see it.
Well, I mean, some people, maybe a different channel, different website. But either way, people would find out about it at school, and then they just take the piss, which is fair enough.
Yeah, of course.
To be fair,
Yeah,
I understand, but obviously that'd be like, fuck, all right, I'm done, right? And then the next summer would come around. We're on school holidays, and it would start again. I'd start a new channel. People would find out about it, and the cycle would repeat. That happened like 3 times. So that kind of sucked, but at the same time, it just taught me every time, just like, don't give a fuck about what people think. And then it got to the point where I kind of like, I lost the drive, I lost the motivation for maybe like 2-3 years. I finished high school, and then one thing led to another. I just started taking photos. I'd been making videos. I tried to do like a little like a video production company just in my local town of Wollongong. That didn't go anywhere. I hated it. I fucking hated it. Mate, like, what I realized real quick is, like, I'm not creating what I want to create. I'm creating what you want to create. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I still do that from time to time, but I remember the first shoot I did was for like this church cafe. Okay. Pretty obscure.
I don't know why I'm laughing at that. It's just...
Man, no, it's weird, right? I'm not religious.
Church cafe.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, church cafe, right? So I just reached out to everyone.
You do like cinematic shots.
That was the idea, right? And they wanted like a walkthrough of like their conference rooms and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. So we did it, and I was like, they sent it back to me because they first said, yeah, this is great, and then I was going somewhere and I came back and they're like, oh, but we have changes. I was like, wait, sorry, I don't understand. What do you mean by changes? This is the first time I've ever heard of a revision in my life. I'm 17 at this point.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck is a revision? Like, no, you get what you've given and you make do. Obviously, that's not the case. And then, yeah, that was when, I started picking up a few little clients here and there. And then I was like, mate, this is horrible. I gave up on it all. That's when I got into photography. I'd completely put YouTube aside. I started taking photos. One thing led to another. I'm, trying to travel the world and just see as much as possible while taking photos doing it. Because I slowly but surely started to understand that if I grew my social media following just a little bit, like 20, 30,000 followers roughly, brands and companies will give me shit for free, right? Of course, it's not for free. Like I've got to give them something in return, but I'm not paying with dollars, right? I'm paying with my content. I'm paying with my time, influence, my reach, whatever. So I remember the first trip I went on was I went to Vietnam. I just booked flights. I can remember. I was like, Mom, I'm going to Vietnam. She's like, oh, wow, that's insane. I was like, yeah. She's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. I just booked flights. I mean, there's nothing planned. I'm just flying into Hanoi.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Just for 7 days. I'm just going out there. She's like, oh, are you sure? I was like, yeah, it's going to be sick. And a few hours later, just mum doing mum thing, she comes back and she's like, look at these waterfalls. They're amazing. I'm like, oh, they're fucking really cool. Well, what are they? And so I find them, and I'm not sure if you've heard of them. Do you know Ban Joik waterfalls? It's the border between Vietnam and China. And this is back in 2018, early 2018. I'd hardly seen any photos from it ever. It's getting very, very popular now. And I was like, wow, that's insane. So I was like, fuck, how can I get up there? I look at it on the map, and I'm like, God, this is like rural. So anyway, I was like, fuck it, I want to get there. That's the goal now. So I booked the trip, no idea what I'm going to do. Mum's thrown this in my face, and I'm going, all right, that's the goal now. So if I can get there, I'll be happy. Trip successful, I'm coming back. So this is the craziest part, right? I'm sure you've done a cold reach out to people. Usually it takes 10, 20, 30 before you get 1 or 2 responses back. The first company I reached out to ever, this is I hadn't reached out to a backpack company or a hat company, nothing. This is the first company I've ever reached out to for social media stuff. They replied to me within an hour and said yes. And it was a motorbike company to take me from Hanoi up to these waterfalls. We were supposed to do another little tour and then bring me back. And I saw that. I was like, whoa, wait, hold on. You're not going to charge me for this? And I only had to deliver them 2 posts on my page. Wow. And I was like, whoa. This is I'd never traveled solo before. A year ago, it was the first time I'd left the country. So I left the country when I was 18 in 2017.
Australia.
I went to Thailand, came back, went to New Zealand, came back, and now I was traveling solo to Hanoi the first time. So this is my 3rd trip out of the country. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. I'd never ridden a motorbike before, let alone a clutch bike. And we did 700 Ks in 3 days. We went up to these waterfalls, raining the whole time. Disastrous conditions. Had to cut the trip short, came back to Hanoi. And, from the outside looking in, you could be like, fuck, that was a shit trip. That was the trip that started it all. That was I'm addicted to this. So after that, I went back home. I was working in a hardware store, right? And I just saved every penny I could. I took extra jobs. I remember I was doing removalist work for a little bit. Whatever, you name it, I was doing it. I was just keen to get as much money as possible so I could try and do another trip and see what happens. And that's when I came to Bali in September. And man, that's when I met Jonas. That's when I met, do you know Johnny? Do you know Johnny Mellon?
Johnny Mellon, yeah.
Yeah, that's when I met him. And I met a handful of other creators while I was out here. And this was the first time I was more or less rubbing shoulders with people that were doing this for a living. Mm-hmm. They weren't just, being like, oh, can I stay in this villa for 2 days, and I'll give you the absolute world for it. It was no, I'm going to charge you for this. And I'm working with this brand and that brand. And my mind was just blown away.
What year was this?
2018.
Okay.
September 2018. I was like, wow, this is insane. And I was here for 3 weeks. I flew back to Sydney, and I was like, fuck, all right. If I can make this happen, I'm happy. I've succeeded, right? And 2019, I went full-time travel. I made $0. I just burnt through all my savings. COVID hit. I know it was horrible for a lot of people, but it was a really good time for me. The government was just paying out money to everyone that wasn't working. I just started this real estate job.
Here or in Australia?
In Australia.
Yeah.
I just started this real estate photography job, and I was there for 6 weeks. I then got asked to fly to the Bahamas for a job.
That was your private jet?
No. Same guy, different trip.
Okay.
And yeah, that was just changed my life. Like, once again, I'm, meeting and mingling with people that are, not just your everyday kind of people of like, 9 to 5, die, kind of retire. That's, 80 or whatever it is now. So yeah, those like kind of those setups, right? Really kind of put me in a position where I was like, fuck it, it's time to really go all in, but not just be like, oh, I just want to go and travel and take photos. Like, okay, it's a business, yeah. Right? It's time to switch on. And I did. And yeah.
How's it gone?
Good.
Define success.
Success is just waking up and being happy, in my opinion. Like, if I can wake up and I am not stressed, right? Well, there's a little stress, but not stress.
Good stress.
Not stress as in like, what's lunch looking like today?
Good
stress, yeah. So like things like, with certain deadlines, or like I really need to get this done. The weather looks shit for the next 3 days. How am I going to make it work? That kind of stuff. That's good. That's healthy, in my opinion. But yeah, just being able to wake up and also to be able to wake up and be happy. Like, waking up is a big part of success. If you don't wake up, you're not going far.
You failed.
But also just to be able to have like time freedom. So like, for example, like this, you want to invite me out here on a Tuesday at 1:30, right? I can say yes. Okay. No one's telling me like, no, I have to be here at this time. I have to do this, right? Location independency. Like, I don't have to be in Sydney. I don't have to be in Australia. I don't have to be anywhere else. And that's super important to me. And then of course, like with time, this will build more and more. And this is the one more or less I'm focusing on the most at the moment. And you could ask Jonas, like, man, we lived together for a year last year. But financial freedom. So ticking those 3 boxes. And I don't mean like, oh man, I want to have, 150 million in the bank. Okay, I'm not going to, okay, if it happens, brilliant. Right. But I'm just talking about all needs are met beyond any kind of like, not hesitation, but like beyond any kind of doubt. You're more than fine. So if you can tick the time, the location, and the finance, I think that's success.
And waking up, being able to wake up.
Waking up, yeah. I mean, like, let's start with that one, and then we'll go the other 3.
When you make 150 million, don't forget me. Thanks.
Mate, absolutely.
Come back on the podcast. how Zac made 150 million.
We'll be waking up together, don't you worry. Oh, rupiah. Oh, brilliant.
Talk to me a little bit about your e-commerce and marketing skill set. That must have helped you with everything, right? It must have helped you with social media. I'm sure the different platforms are there. Just pitching yourself, how to market yourself, what to do, timing, strategies. Is that something you were educated in, or is that something you kind of fell into as a job and then you've kind of carried those skills on?
Man, once again, like, I feel like it's a little bit of a theme, but I just learned everything online.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I can remember vividly, I feel like that was the boom of drop shipping, right? Everyone's like, look, you set up a shit Shopify website, you attach like a fidget spinner from AliExpress to it, and you sell it for like $40, you make $37, you're laughing. Financial freedom, killing it. So of course I'm looking at it, I'm like, fuck, are they serious? Like, let's get started, right? So one after another, that is just not working, right? Now, of course, looking back, it's not the business model, it's not the product, it's just how you go about it, right? You cannot expect to spend $150, make $1,000 in the first day, and be like, oh, we're cruising. And that's something that just takes time to learn. You can either listen to it and really take it in, or you've got to experience it. And I experienced it many times. So that was 2017. More or less, like, I hadn't really started anything with social media. I would create these like little businesses, if you will, little Shopify stores with an Instagram account. I'd follow it 3 times on my other accounts and be like, ooh, all right, we're cooking with gas here. And I'd post this shit. I'd DM some influencers, like the absolute typical 2017 model of a dropshipper, right? And anyway, it never succeeded, just like the other millions of people that would have tried it as well. And anyway, circle back around to about 2020. That's when I started like going hard on my Lightroom presets, right? I was like, man, how can I create something that create it once, and then I don't have to be consistently like talking with clients.
Passive income.
Yeah, like passive to a degree though. I think the way that I've set it up now, it's definitely passive. Like for example, just for conversation, I could get a sale while we're doing this. But I still have to create content to get those eyes in. And that's where like Reels and stuff, man, I tell you, Reels changed my whole career trajectory. But we'll go into that later. But with the e-commerce stuff, I had a little bit of money saved up, and I was like, look, if I threw $500 at this just to test and just to try, is it going to end me? At this time, I'm living with my dad. It's COVID. Government's paying me a little bit of money every week. I'm like, probably not. Like, I'll survive. I'll still wake up, right? So I try it. And I fail, and I try and I fail, and I try and I fail, and it's just tweaking and like, there's so many factors to it. You've got like a product title down to the product description and the way you word things, the copy, the ads, how you target it, making sure the checkout stuff works all right, making sure people aren't going to try and scam you, or all this kind of stuff. Like you've really got to dial it all in, and that can't be done in an afternoon. So it took like months for me to kind of get it ready. But I remember that the first time, and this was when it wasn't ready, right? I was like, okay, I had this product. There were some Lightroom presets, and I put an ad out. Okay. And I put it out, and I watched it get approved from my bedroom, and then I was going to go have dinner. And this was when the ball dropped from walking to my bedroom to dinner, right? So I left, the ads were approved. They'd started running. I could see like, it had reached like 4 people or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. They're starting to deliver. I don't know how this worked. I walked from my bedroom to dinner and I got a sale. And that was when I was like, wait, hold on.
I just got paid to walk to dinner.
Yeah. Are you taking the piss?
Yeah.
Like, and that's when I was like, okay, digital products are where it's at. So yeah, that's when I was like, okay, it's time to invest it all into this. You know what I mean? And then that's what I did. I started, I made my website, and that changed nearly every week. Just like, okay, like the conversion rates, like this is where people are dropping off, whatever the case, change. Add creatives.
Sorry,
add
website for what? Your presets?
My presets, okay. Right? And this was honestly like an amazing time to just learn the whole process. In no way, shape, or form am I like, man, when I'm 75, I'm going to be still selling my master collection of Lightroom presets. But the amount of stuff it has taught me, and it's still teaching me today, is crazy, right? So I dialed all of that in, and I was like, okay, this is like kind of flowing now. I'm feeling good. And then after that, I was like, okay, what else can I sell? Okay, I could sell a different type of Lightroom preset. I could sell a different this and that. And I was like, yeah, but I want to do more. It can't just be preset. Like, and obviously, as you know, it's not the only digital thing you can buy and download. And yeah, that's when I made my video LUTs, obviously pretty similar. And then I also made the Bali book. That didn't do as well as I thought it would. During COVID, I was living here. I went to every photography spot I knew and documented the whole thing, right? Down to like what gear you should bring, how much it costs to get in, how to beat the crowds, best places to shoot it from, best times, best time of year, all that kind of stuff. My contacts for the island, best places to change money and get like use ATMs that aren't going to scam you, driver contacts, locations if you want to go like book a boat or something. Like I've got contact. The whole thing is in there. It's like the photographer's like guide to Bali. And that still trickles along, and it just kind of works in the background. I don't market that or push that. It's a link in bio now. But yeah, so that was cool. I kind of worked out that digital products are something really serious, right? It seems so small and minute. I'm selling my Lightroom presets for like $24. And it's like, man, it's a piss in the ocean, right?
Yeah, it's nothing.
And it is, but at scale, it's not, right? And at scale, especially when you're bringing in people's email addresses for all that kind of stuff, you know, it does add up quickly, and it's like, okay, this is cool. So you've got that side of things, which is amazing, and that has taught me so much about business in general. Like, not to just look at things on a day-to-day. You can't just be overanalyzing every day, going, oh my God, it's all over, like, you know, it's finished, no one cares. And then the next day, it's like the best day you've ever had, and it's like, whoa. Now, of course, it's super inconsistent, but like, that's just life. The success is never like that, or never just like that. It's like all the way. It's just crazy, right? So that's taught me a lot. And that's also like, that kind of leads into client work as well. You know, when I'm working with different companies, different brands, doing campaigns for like social media stuff or whatever it might be, it can't always be like, okay, every month 5 people are going to reach out to me, 2 I'm going to accept. Brilliant, I've got X amount coming in. Because that's just not the case. There could be 1 month where for the whole year, everyone reaches out to you in that month, and then it's quiet. And that's when things like retainers are really important. Like building retainer clients where you just have a client every month you deliver X amount of content to, or X amount of exposure, whatever it might be. And this can be in many, many industries. And yeah, being able to deliver to them also creates a little bit more of a consistent income, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. And when you are on the road, when you are traveling, when you're living in a place, for example, like Bali, you know, you don't have the option to just go get a normal job. I can't go to like my hardware store that I used to work at, knock on their door and say, hey, look, I fucked it. Take me back. You don't have that choice. You know, I can't go down to Ace Hardware and be like, hey, like, give me a shirt. Like, I just can't, right? Not only from visa situations, but of course, I mean, the money is completely different here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, just to have that kind of like in the back of your mind that maybe, you know, you've got 2 or 3 clients that are going to pay you $2,000 a month. Man, all of a sudden you're bringing $6,000 a month. And you don't have to, it's not like it's taking up
fixed income.
Yeah, it's not taking up every day. You sign them on like a 12-month contract. You got a little breathing space, right? Yeah. Don't take the foot off the gas, but you've got some breathing space. If you want to do this, you want to do that, you can. And of course, it, you know, like for me, I'm blessed. You know, the companies I work with, the people I do have on retainers, they're really good. You know, it's a lot of travel content. So when I travel, they get excited because it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna get content from Italy, from London, from Dubai, wherever I am. And yeah, it's kind of nice. Or even just Bali in general. I mean, you know how diverse it is here. Yeah. You can be up in the mountains, you can be deep in the jungle, you can be in the savannah that kind of looks like a desert up north. There's so many islands here. But yeah, in a nutshell, like that's kind of how it all works. So that's really what e-commerce and marketing taught me. And that was a huge slap in the face.
Speaking of traveling, what is it about travel that you think, if you could kind of really describe or put a finger on what keeps you going back for more? What is it about travel that hits that, you know, that satisfaction, that excitement for you?
Man, there's a few things. It's probably the easiest one to explain is the ability to continually shoot fresh stuff. So, like, you know, for example, if you've been in Bali for maybe, I don't know, 6 months or a year, more or less, unless you're shooting cultural stuff, landscape stuff, all those kind of spots, you've kind of hit them all. Or you've hit the ones that interest you at least, right? So being able to travel, you know, jump on a plane for even, you know, an hour, 2 hours, and you're in a completely different location with all this new stuff around you, it's very inspiring. It's very motivating to continually shoot. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. And then the other one, it's actually kind of strange, but if I land somewhere, regardless of how tired I am, as soon as that plane touches down, it's like I just wake up, right? And when I wake up, like you go through the passport control, whatever, you get your bags. When I'm in that car, when I'm in a taxi, going to my hotel, going to wherever I'm going to, if I'm in a new country, man, I am just wired. I am soaking it all. I just love that feeling. I remember when I went to Thailand, my first time leaving the country, I just couldn't believe it. It was kind of like this world, I'm seeing it as a new world, right? This world has been happening the whole time I've been alive, right? But it's just so new to me. So like when I went to Dubai, Turkey's actually a better example. When I went to Turkey in September this year, September this year, it's the craziest trip I've ever been on, right? I saw some of the wildest stuff I think I'll ever see. We were in the southeast region, which is hotly contended with the Kurdish armed forces or whatever the name might be. So it's pretty militarily active, and you've got huge checkpoints on the highway all the time. Like it's gnarly stuff. And seeing that and just being like, this has been fucking going on for ages. Like, how am I just seeing this now? And then there's so many of those things all over the world. So I just want to continually see more of that stuff. And then when you get to partner it up with shooting, especially shooting in a location like that, I mean, like no one's going out there, or like very few people are going out. I've never seen any content from out that way. So it was really nice to not only shoot fresh stuff for me, but also shoot fresh stuff for majority of my followers, if not all of them. So that was really cool, kind of getting to put my name on, like, you know, ticking that off and being like, wow, I'm one of the first people to get out here. Not the first, but one of the first that maybe takes it serious in my style, or however you want to kind of dress that. But yeah, I would say those kind of things definitely push me to continue traveling. Like I don't know. It's very motivating and inspiring. So.
What, was that a job or was that personal stuff? Just personal. But
yeah, it was one of those things like I was mentioning before with some of the companies I work with. You know, I can just take some products in my bag and put them in my pockets, and all of a sudden I'm creating content for companies, you know, wherever. So it's nice, you know. It's not like they're saying, hey, you need to go to Utah and shoot this specific thing on this specific date. They kind of just like, look, deliver us X amount of whatever, and we'll pay you X amount. Go knock yourself out.
You're the creative. We'll leave it up to you to
exactly. And that is like the ultimate.
Amazing.
Or run them past it. I'll run it past them and be like, hey guys, like, hey, just for your knowledge, I'm heading out to Turkey. Would you like any content from here? Or, you know, how do you think? Would you rather Istanbul or would you rather out in the middle of nowhere? Like, what are your kind of vibes? And I'll reach out to other clients, older clients as well, and just let them know, hey, this is where I'm going. I've already got your products. If you are looking for content from this region whatsoever, like, let's do it. And I can, if I'm going to Turkey, then it's easy for me to, you know, go Middle East or go like Eastern Europe. You know what I mean? So like, oh, nah, but we're really looking for stuff from Croatia, for example. Okay, no stress. It's like $200 to fly there. I'll spend 4 days there, shoot whatever they need. Of course, they're going to pay for it. And then I'm going to come back and be like, look, I was in that area of the world. It's easy for me to go around. They're happy. I'm happy. Easy days. And I got to travel more. So,
yeah. Are you able to tell us who your retained clients are, or is it NDA?
I don't know whether it's NDA, but
if you're not sure,
I'll just give you industries.
Okay.
So an industry that I work with, like clothing is pretty staple. That's standard. Like everyone's got to wear clothes, so it's very easy to integrate that and stuff. Well, I mean, yeah, true. I also work with I work closely with an alcohol brand. I also work closely with a tech company that does like SD cards, SSDs, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And like I said before, all you need is a handful. You got a handful on your roster, and you're making some decent income, and then you plus everything else, you know? So, for example, not that we got paid for it, but in early September, on my way to Turkey, we went to Dubai, and we were working with the tourism board there. So what I did was I said, hey, these clients, you're coming with me, right? But we're also going to be working with the tourism board here. So we didn't get paid for it. It was very, very low deliverables, which was amazing. But we got a heap of cool experiences. But let's just say for conversation, we were getting paid for it, right? I'm getting paid to be somewhere, and I'm getting paid to bring my products with me as well. So I'm shooting, I'm traveling, and I'm getting paid twice. Plus I'm making personal brand content, and I'm shooting stuff in the field for my educational content as well. So all of a sudden we got like 4 or 5 pillars that are building up. And the more personal brand content I make, the more products that I sell, and the more marketing material I get to make as well. So it kind of just all snowballs. And once it starts rolling, you know, then as you reach more people through your personal brand, you sell more products, but more companies and businesses want to reach out to you. And then you can charge more. So then you drop the lower paying clients and you replace them with the higher, and so on and so forth. Like it really just starts moving. Like once you get that ball rolling, it's easy to stop, but it's also very easy to keep it rolling. You know what I mean?
The 150 million is just around the corner, mate.
Mate, I hope so. I really hope so. Absolutely.
Talk to me about your style, your genre, photo versus video. I know you've kind of gone back and forth between, you know, how did you start and why did you move to one form or the other, or both?
For sure. So yeah, I started with video. I started making YouTube videos. So it wasn't like any travel or whatever. Like when you're 11, you're pretty limited to your neighborhood. But I started just making stupid YouTube videos. And then obviously that progressed into starting the small little video production company. I hated that. And that's when I just cut all video off. And then I just moved to photos because I was like, oh, this is fun. You know, one of my friends, he just got his license and would go out like every night. We just go shoot night photos. I can remember I had a Canon 600D, like the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. And we'd just be blown away every time we took a long exposure shot. It was like, this is insane. When are we getting signed by Canon? Like, you know, no one's like, you know, that's what we thought, right? We thought we were killing it. And one thing led to another. I just really enjoyed the process of just going out, finding a location or going out to a specific location that we already had in mind, taking some really cool photos, uploading them, getting feedback on them. You know, of course, when you're at that age, it's like, oh, maybe I'll impress some people at the same time. Like, that's just how you're thinking. And I really like that process. So more or less, it's a very similar process, like the going out, shooting, finding locations, all that kind of stuff with video. But I stuck with photo, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, because that's what led to me like getting eager to travel. That's what led to me like my first job in Vietnam, and they only wanted photos. They weren't interested in video. So instantly I was like, okay, interesting. Maybe the market just demands photos, right? Now, of course, like my mind back then, I was like, oh, well, it can never change. So I just went all in on photos, right? Looking back, I probably should have continued with video. I'm not saying where I'm at today with my video skill is bad, but like I just sometimes think like, how far on could I be? You know, if I had started 3 years ago when I started taking photos at the same time, like would my video just be through the roof? I don't know. I guess we'll see in 3 years' time.
Shut up, you're 27. You're fucking
23. Nearly 24. So yeah, we will see. But so I went from that, and then when Instagram Reels came along, you know, more or less my Instagram account was like, man, I was going out, I was shooting the exact same thing everyone else was shooting, like photos, right? I was just rinse and repeat, like, oh wow, we're in Bukachinta, wow, we're at Nung Nung Waterfall, whatever the case, right? And it's very hard to continually shoot fresh photos in the same spot, at least the style in the industry niche I was in, you could say, because they're wide landscape travel photos. You put someone really far away, right? You have a nice big landscape that you can't get a lot of compositions from in one morning. You take a photo, you're lucky if you leave with 1 or 2 posts, and you move on, right? And then last year, I worked alongside 2 amazing video creators, right? And to be honest with you, I'd never heard of either of them before I was working alongside them. It was Kai, just Kai, and Corey Martin. And we did like a 5-day shoot out here, and they were shooting videos, I was shooting photos. Mate, that like kind of just opened my eyes, because I was shooting photos, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm done. But yeah, we're just getting started. And I was like, fuck, hold on. Wait. Like, I'm finished. My bag is zipped, right? Like, I've already used the models for what I need. Like, I'm done, right? And you guys, like, it's so much more dynamic. You can spend, it's not even how long you spend at a location, but you can get so many more shots through video versus photo. And I knew I already loved the process. I understood how it worked. And that's when I was like, okay, interesting. All right, let's fuck the photos off for a minute. And let's just, like, for a month, focus on video. And I did. And man, like I would say within that month, I maybe grew like 5,000 followers on Instagram. I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. Let me do this a little more and a little more and a little more. And then that's when Instagram Reels like blew up. I was like, wow, this is perfect timing.
Right time.
This is one of those things where it's like, imagine starting the travel photography niche like in 2017, but doing it well, doing it right with a little bit of money behind you and understanding a bit more about business, just being a little older than 19, right? I know a guy that's 19 right now. He's absolutely killing it. So I guess age isn't all that. But that was where I was. That was the position I was in. So I wasn't ripe to take advantage of the 2017 kind of era, the 2018 era. But now I was like, fuck, I'm in the driver's seat. Like, it would be so stupid to not just go all in on this. And I pretty much stopped taking and posting photos, right? I was like, I just want to shoot video. And I was shooting every single chance I got. You can ask Jonas, like, man, I was just every single sunrise. I'd wake up at like 4 o'clock. I'd just go to our roof. We had like a nice little rooftop patio. I'd look out. If the conditions were clear, I'd be out. If they weren't, I'd just go back to bed. And that was every morning. And it was very similar like that in the start of this year too. And then, yeah, of course, like one thing led to another, and I was like, fuck, you can charge more people for video. Sorry, you can charge more for video than you can for photos. And of course, that's all relative. But in my opinion, and where I was in my career, I was like, I can, maybe I can charge a client $1,000 for X amount of photos, but maybe I can charge them $5,000 for the same time shooting. Okay, of course, it's going to take longer to edit, but it's the same client, and I can get more money from this. And that's where I was like, okay, let's do it. Also, the reach was through the roof. I went from reaching like maybe, let's say between 7,000 to 10,000 people a post to millions. And I'm like, mate, how, like...
Give me an example of the type of video.
Okay, it's just like my travel reels, for example. Okay. Right? So I'm going out with friends. We're just going to go do cool shit. I'm going to come back. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to reuse those clips like crazy because they're only like 5 to 7 second videos, right? They're not long. And it's one of those things, if I was posting every single day fresh content, like, mate, I wouldn't be able to sit down like this, for example. I would have to always be out shooting. I'd always have to be traveling. And that's fine and it's fun, but like you can get burnt out. And when you have other ventures that you're trying to manage as well, it's kind of like, okay, let's just find a balance. And I did. And now I'm in a position where I've got the last year's worth of shooting video to like where I am now with multiple countries, multiple people, which is super important as well. It's not just the same person over and over again. All this kind of stuff where I can just pull and like, oh, that happened like 10 months ago. Oh, people have forgotten about that. Let's pull it back. It did really well 10 months ago. It's still doing well today.
Maybe adjust it a little bit or tweak.
Exactly right. And then like mix it in with new stuff and old stuff. And like the library is just going to continually grow. And that's something I'm really excited about.
So still in the video space now?
Big time.
Yeah.
And then that also, so this time last year on the 29th of December, I think it's like the 13th today, I created a new Instagram page called whatzac.co. And the idea was just to upload all my TikToks on that page. And that's like 120,000 followers in 12 months. That's 10,000 followers a month. It's wild. It's reaching like 1.5 million people every 30 days.
What is the secret to that success? And don't say just reels. Like what is how do you design those reels, or what are you trying to say that you do say, and how are you making those reels work?
For sure. I think there's a lot of different like factors that make up why the reels perform well. But if we just take the educational ones, for example, I think it's really important to do research before you just try stuff. By all means, shoot your shot and you're going to see how far off the target you are. But it's also going to take some time, because you could upload a video and have 0 followers and be like, wow, it could be a good video, but I've just got 0 followers. Yeah. It could be a good video, I've only got 1,000 followers, wherever you're at. So what I did was, I remember, and I mentioned Luca Peterson earlier in this podcast, but we were more or less in the really beginning of TikTok. They're photography educators, along with a handful of other people as well. We're the ones that kind of like pushed it with some people behind, like with us as well. And that was really interesting. So we got to see, and we got to kind of rub shoulders with all the other people that were doing well. So for example, let's say Luca uploads a video where he's talking about a certain subject and it does really well. Well, I'm going to try that too, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. And then I can remember I was doing that, and then I introduced like talking head stuff because I saw someone else do talking head stuff. I was like, okay, like that also performs well. And then I started introducing like subtitles, right? And then I started introducing like just other ways to kind of keep people's attention. And all of a sudden, like I'm building this kind of like this resume, like different things that it takes to make my videos pop. Like I uploaded that video, and like this feature, it sucked. Like it did really bad. The information's good, but like, maybe people didn't like this, or they didn't like this color grade, or they didn't like how the studio looked, or they didn't like this in the frame, whatever it was. So just listening to that feedback, but then also doing research, not on competitors, but for lack of a better term, like other people in your industry, seeing what videos did well for them and what kind of factors did well in their videos is a really important thing. So then you can come back, look at your own and say, okay, I want to change that. I want to change that. I want to change that. Like, what are the people at the top doing that I'm not doing? And how can I implement that in my videos? And of course, I mean, you can take that from any industry and implement it into your own.
Well, I was going to say, like, how do you take lessons from a person or account that's, exploding on reels, but isn't, complete opposite of the photography space. It's nothing to do with photography. It's nothing to do with the creative world. It's maybe something to do with finance or something like that.
That's perfect. I'm glad you said that. The thing is, it's still education. It's still talking to the camera. So the same principles work. You're just talking about a different subject. So let's say you're sitting here and you're talking about personal finance and investing. That's a huge industry, and it's a huge market for content. And let's say you're crushing it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, okay, it's interesting how he uses his subtitles, and then he uses overlays, and you might use a different camera angle. You might flip, horizontally invert the thing to make it look like a different camera angle. You might be talking really fast in the beginning and then slow it down. You might have a lot of information come up on the screen, whatever the case, and I could be like, okay, interesting. The next time I'm talking about shutter speed, well, I'm going to try these same principles, right? And I'm going to see how they work. And let's say the video does really well, or I do it a few times to get a bit of an idea. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. It's the same principles, different topic, but I can still take them and use them in my videos because the people as a whole, on Instagram, and TikTok, they want to be engaged. They want to always be stimulated, reading this, listening to that, watching this, they just always, and that's how to keep people on the platform. That's how to keep people watching your videos. And the more people watch your videos for the longer time, watch rates, they aren't 20, 30% anymore. It's 120% because the video replays. So you want to and then for
watch rates being, what does it define watch rates? The number of people.
Sorry, watch through rates, my bad. So for example, if you upload a video and people only watch 20% of it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Do they stay to the end and then
they stay to the end? But now because it replays, if that hook in the beginning is super strong, or you've got into a little bit more detail inside of a topic, right? People will be like, oh fuck, I need to watch that again. So now all of a sudden people are watching your videos twice, 3 times.
That's why YouTube is so powerful as well. I'm fascinated by YouTube because I'm almost the perfect customer of it. I follow who I follow. I subscribe to who I subscribe. I'm really loyal to them, yourself included.
Hey.
But I download a lot of stuff and I rewatch a lot of stuff. Most of my videos are educational or maybe video podcasts or something that I'm just interested in, that I'm learning from. It's all kind of learning based. So that's where you get the replays and the hooks and the attention is because if you're offering value, and I was talking about this the other day with someone, but the key is not just the techniques. Well, in my opinion, the key is, I don't know, I'm not good at reels, but the key I would imagine is not necessarily just trying to grab attention all the time, keep someone there. You can only do that if you've actually got something to offer, right? And that's why educational videos are so valuable, because off the bat, you're offering something back. You're offering something free. What I'm more kind of, I guess, inquisitive about are your other types of reels and people who do kind of more scenic type travel reels. The quick cuts, the cinematic grading, the editing of it, the music, the audio. How you're presenting that and what you're trying to show in it.
Gotcha.
How does that, where do you even start with it? And what kind of, you obviously got a formula for it. So are you able to share that kind of formula on those types of reels?
Big time. I think the thing with those, it's a short dopamine hit, right? You see this thing that, hopefully it looks beautiful. It's in a place that you might not know. It's in a beautiful place though. It's got people doing cool shit, and it's just wow, that looks dope, right? That's the idea. That's
aesthetics.
Yeah, aesthetics, right? You ask anyone, they might give you some bullshit answer of oh, I'm trying to tell this story. There's only if you're uploading a 5-second video,
you're not telling a story.
Come on, cut the shit, right? You're just not. Now, of course, you might be able to in a short, let's say we just did a reel with a motorbike down to the beach or whatever the case, right? Okay, you're telling you might be able to tell some form of a story, but 9 times out of 10, it's aesthetic visuals. It just is, right? And yeah, I think a lot of people get caught up in the whole storytelling bullshit where it's no, it's just this is what it's you're not. Okay.
So your main formula, your main ingredient of that formula is aesthetics for a reel that you want to go viral or you want to be successful.
So it's good visuals mixed with some audio that hopefully makes you kind of like, ooh, kind of get you like pumped up. So I'll be scrolling. You got it. I'll be scrolling, and if I hear or I see a reel pop up, and I'm like, ooh, I like this audio. Like I'm pumped. Like I want to create a video that will match this well, and will, just kind of like deliver that, not only that dopamine hit, but also I guess to a degree, it's kind of like, fuck, I want to go do some cool shit too. I want to go out and do stuff. Like I want to go out and, visit a sick mountain or whatever the case. I want to go cliff jumping. I want to just do fun stuff. And a lot of that stuff, they're in my videos. So yeah, in a way, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not my life's work, right? But right now, the market loves this stuff. And I'm not in the industry of deciding what the market does and doesn't want. So if someone is watching on the other side and they're like, hey, we like this, and I can see that, right? If a video, so let's say, for example, I post a video, gets 1 million views. I'm like, okay, let's do it again, right? Of course, it's going to be different to a degree, but let's do it again. And yeah, it's one of those things, like the interest will change over time, and I'm just willing to adapt. Like when Reels came out, man, I couldn't tell you the amount of people that were like, I hate it, it's so stupid, it's dumb, it's this, it's that. And okay, cool. If that's what you think, that's what you think, right? But the market wants this. And I'm just going to fill the gap, if there is a gap. I do just want to clarify before we continue.
Go on, mate. Yeah.
I just mentioned, just before we cut, that storytelling in Reels is all hoopla, it's all this and that. And while I do believe that, there are a few little caveats. I think you can tell stories. I mean, you're not just limited to 7 seconds, right? You get like up to a minute. So I think there's definitely possibility there. And I think there's possibility to even do it in 15 seconds. But let's just say you're uploading every day. There's no way you've got 7 stories per week, every day, for 365 days a year to tell. If you do, I mean, man, hey, you're putting in work. Me personally, I don't. So when I say you can't specifically tell stories in Reels, that's what I mean. Maybe it's for lack of a better term. Maybe I said it in the wrong way, but that's just how I think. And yeah, so there's potential for sure to tell stories and to educate and do all these kind of things. And I guess I do it on the education side of stuff, but visually, at least the travel, the cinematic stuff that I do upload, I would find it extremely hard to tell a story every day. And I upload nearly every day. So that's where I kind of, I guess, come unstuck.
There's a reason why a book, a fiction book is a certain length. There's a reason why movies are, give or take a certain length. There's a reason why storytellers, take a certain amount of time to tell a story. And I think photographers, they become very pretentious about storytelling. I mean, I like to think I tell stories, but snippets of stories, like, more like moments, moments of stories or little chapters of little insights into a story that we might not know yet. If you're talking about people or you're talking about places, like it, and Reels, if you look at Reels like that, then I think it can work. Like, how can we encapsulate something very quickly, just one tiny little piece of the puzzle that is a larger story that we may have captured elsewhere, or we may not know about yet. And, this is the moment of my experience in this place or whatever it is.
I think you're bang on the money. I've never looked at it like that whatsoever, but I like that. You're just telling a part of a larger story. Yeah,
if you think you're telling a story, then you're fucking deluded, or you think way more of yourself than what's real.
No,
real.
I like that. There you go.
Look at me. This is why you're watching.
No, I like that.
You talked earlier about following the market, essentially. Yeah. Prostituting yourself for the market. No, it's interesting because this is why I wanted you in here, and I know that your art form comes first, and I love the way you have kind of 2 main forms of output. One is your content, your art, your cinematography, your photography. And the other one is the education, the giving back, which we'll talk about that later, I think, because that's really important to think about kind of the whys behind it. Yeah. But that market trends, and I was asked the other day about trends. How do you keep up the trends? I was like, I fucking don't. A, because I'm ignorant. B, because I don't care, and they probably go hand in hand, right? If I was fully into the trends and keeping up with them and knowing about them, then I would be more into them, right? And I'd want to do them more. So why is that kind of following the market so important to you? What is the why? Is it money? Is it? Are you trying to gain a financial kind of input from that, or what is the reason behind you kind of focusing so much on, well, that's the market wants, so I'm going to go that way?
Yeah, I think. I mean, look, I think any way you kind of point that, it's always going to look like financial gain, because if I told you, look, it's to grow my reach, why do you want to grow your reach?
Exactly.
Right. Oh, it's to grow my YouTube reach. I want to take it from Instagram. Okay, so why do you want to grow your YouTube? Oh, well, I want to teach a lot of people. Okay, so why do you want to teach a lot of people? Oh, well, I really want to give back. Okay, that's great. But like, you're also going to make a shitload of money from it as well. So you could say that, yes. But there are, I mean, look, if that's the absolute at the top, like, okay, like, yeah, we need money to make, like, you know, to just do stuff like this, for example, right? Sure, of course, you know, I want to make sure my longevity of, you know, creating or social media content stays around. I want to make sure I can continue to fund everything that I'm doing, right? And I need to be reaching more people, and I need to be reaching, you know, a certain amount of people every month, every week, whatever the case, to be able to do that. So I want to make sure my reach stays there. I also want to stay 100% relevant as a creator, especially in the industry and niche. You know, I don't want to fall off and just be like, well, no, I'm just creating this content and that's it. You know, I'm not moving. You cannot change my mind. I'm set in my ways. And hey, for some people that works. It really does, because they target a certain select few people with like, we really fuck with your stuff, you know? You know,
Fuck
like,
with your stuff means
good.
Okay.
Like, we really like it, right? But then for me, I'm like, well, look, I want those people to stay around. But if that's only going to be 5% or 10% of my audience, well, then I'm dropping the ball with the other 90%, right? So I'm going to follow what the market wants, but I'm not going to be like, you know, I'm not saying, for example, if the market tomorrow is like cooking this certain type of thing, I'm not just going to go over there. I'm going to be following what the market wants within the travel niche. I'm going to be following what the market wants within the photography education niche. So it's still hyper relevant to what I'm doing right now, but it's best seen from the transition from photos to videos. People wanted photos, people love photos. Then people wanted videos. I could provide both. And when the photos fell off, and to be honest, they're actually not doing all that bad now, at least in my experience, in my opinion, I was able to just be like, okay, well, the market wants videos. I'm now just going to create videos as well. And that was that. And then all of a sudden, okay, the market wants longer videos. Okay, we'll make longer videos. The market wants shorter videos. Okay, we make shorter videos. The market, it's summer. We really want like blue water, this, that, and the other. Okay, brilliant. We go over there. It's winter. Okay, brilliant. We go over here. It's not like I'm jumping around, changing all this and that. I'm just aware of what is doing well. And I'm like, okay, well, at this moment, photos and videos are doing very well. Okay, let's do more of that. In this moment, those stacked videos, where you get like, you know, the widescreen, there's five videos stacked together, right? They're doing really well. Okay, brilliant, we go over there. Before and after color grading videos, they're doing, okay, we go over there. It's still super relevant, and it's still content that I would create, but I'm just focused more on it. Instead of doing maybe once a month, I'm doing once a week. Simple. I'm just changing. I want to make sure I'm super flexible and super like, okay, well, like, you want to push me in this direction a little bit? No worries, we're going to go over there. Let's see if we can find some
as long
success.
as it's still within that circle of you enjoying it, wanting to, you know. And it's interesting you say, oh, you would create that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's a really important lesson for people listening to you is, you know, still that is where your artistic integrity comes in. It's like, well, no, I'm still going to do stuff. I'm still not going to do things I don't want to do.
Oh, no, of course.
So
not.
I mean that, you know, people, a lot of people that do, a lot of people do shit they don't want to do because they want to get you know. And you talked about financial incentives, and that, of course, like everyone on this planet has financial incentive, whether it's to survive, or whether it's to become the richest guy in the world, somewhere in between. So as long as people are honest with that, like I respect that. It's when people maybe that is not their incentive, and their incentive is status and ego and fame. You know, oh, I've got 1 million followers for now.
Yeah.
You know, what?
And brilliant. So do another
you don't have
100,000 people,
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
hell,
like,
bro.
it's not that special to be there anymore.
No, but I think it's so, and I keep banging on about this, whoever I speak to, and hopefully it gets through to certainly young people starting out and having grown up with, were they the Generation Y? I guess you're Generation Y. I'm Gen Z. You'd be Gen Y. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That's the Generation Y.
Yeah, there you go.
But people growing up with social media, I never grew up with social media. It's this thing
Gotcha.
that landed like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like my parents, trying to use the internet. It's
Big time.
people, you obviously learn, but it's. My point is, youngsters who, or not youngsters, but people who are trying to grow in that space. I think it's really important to, try to clarify exactly what you're doing this for, and identify the fact that social media is A, here to stay, B, should be an important part of your marketing portfolio. Whether that's a big part of it or a small part, that depends on what you do and how you want to do it and what you want to do. But try not to, I guess, get carried away with the status things, and that's I don't know if was it an Instagram thing that they pulled number of likes from certain. Is that from just a certain number of accounts? Is that a feature you can turn on or off?
Yeah, you can turn it on or off. I
can.
think when you post anything, except for a story, you can turn the like counter off. Then what you can do, and I find this very interesting, you can turn it back on, and I'm assuming that if you turn it off in the beginning, right, and you turn it back on, it's only because it's crossed like a certain number of likes where you're like, okay, I'm happy with that. I don't do that.
But isn't that sad?
I mean, to a degree, but at the same time, like, it does promote this. It does promote posting whatever content you want. If you don't take social media seriously, like for me, this is a business, okay? I'm not going to sit here and sell you a fucking, I'm doing it for this and that and what some people do. Some people lie about it. I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to be honest. For me, this is not only a way to make money, but it's a way to make money and have a shitload of fun doing it, right? I get to live a pretty cool life. I get to do some cool stuff, right? I get to create content. Yeah, okay, I work hard, right? I create a lot of content all the time. I'm always thinking of new ideas. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to go out, shoot this and that. And at the same time, I get to inspire people to do it themselves and go and travel and experience this and experience that, and live a healthier lifestyle. Like I hope. I guess I don't put a lot of that out, but like something that I take very seriously is my health. Maybe that's something I should share more. But anyway, where am I going with this? With the lying and the bullshitting and stuff.
It's a business.
It is. Regardless of who you ask, I think at the end of the day, if you're not making money, you can't do this. Unless you've already got money, unless you've got, X amount of dollars invested.
Yeah,
and
you're retired and it's...
Okay, knock yourself out, right? But you have to make money. Otherwise you can't live. You can't eat. You can't pay rent. You can't live in a place like Bali. You have to make some kind of income, right? And the way to do that is by selling stuff, by selling your reach, by working with other brands and clients, providing value to people. So I can...
Selling yourself?
Selling yourself. I try to do that as little as possible, to be honest. I don't like brand deals. I think unless it aligns 100% perfectly, and I see the education stuff aligning a lot more. Like, let's say, for example, Rode wanted to sponsor a video or whatever. I think that aligns a lot more. Oh, there you go. Instead of like, for example, I don't know, like some random company wanting to sponsor something on WhatsApp, like my travel stuff. It's just maybe some travel company, okay, whatever, or like tourism boards or something like that where I'm promoting a destination. But if Rode reached out to me and wanted to promote on like my travel stuff, I'd be like, that doesn't really like line up. Like the people that are watching that content, they're not interested in doing voiceovers or podcasts or whatever. Like that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I like the way I look at it and the way I see it and the way I've always seen it, is like I don't have this like weird agenda of like, I'm gonna transform this and I'm really just interested in this. Like that's not me, right? Of course, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to only try and bring as much positivity as possible, right? I don't want any negative shit. I don't want any politics in here or just none of it, right? And I want to create some cool content, and hopefully I can inspire some people to do that as well. And whether they want to change some stuff, and whether they, have a mission and want to plant 1,000 trees, whatever it is, right? Go do it. That's amazing, right? I'm never going to take credit for that. But yeah, in my opinion, that's kind of where I stand. So,
cool, man. Well, it's inspirational in itself. What do you see as the future of social media, and how does photography fit into that? With AI coming along and
that's crazy
still
stuff.
photos certainly kind of taking a back seat anyway when it comes to social media. How do you see the next kind of few years? Things move quickly, obviously, but Instagram's here to stay. In what form? And how would any photographer kind of balance their efforts into these types of platforms?
Yeah, I mean, we get this question a lot. When I mean we, I mean Luca and I. With us targeting beginner photographers, you could imagine there's some people that are like knocking on our door saying, hey, how the hell do we do this? And in my opinion, the best way to do it is of course focus on what makes you happy in the process of it, and then look at how it succeeds online. So, for example, you could look at someone like Jord, for example, right? Very successful travel photographer. I think he does absolutely amazing work, and you could go down that route where you're like, okay, look, I'm gonna analyze what these top guys do, and I'm gonna try and replicate that. Or I'm going to maybe move a little bit more into the video space, or I'm gonna try something that's a little bit untapped. Not sure. And it's honestly throwing as much stuff at the wall until something sticks. And if you've followed that principle of enjoying the process, regardless of what sticks, you'll like it, right? So let's say you like taking photos, you like making videos with your photos, and you like doing editing tutorials, whatever. You enjoy them equally. You throw all of them at the wall, one sticks, brilliant. You can still do the others, but they're not going to be the one that drives you forward. So getting started with social media, I know a lot of people right now, they're like, it's too late. It's too late for TikTok. It's too late for Instagram. It's too late for YouTube. I think it's a load of shit. If you've actually got quality content to put out there and you follow some kind of strategy, or you make something in your mind, you commit, you stay consistent, whatever it is, there's success to be found all the time. And how you measure success is 1,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, if it's to impact X amount of people, to teach 1,000 people a week, to sell a course, to make X amount of money, however you want to look at it, it's to be found out there for sure. So I don't think it's too late whatsoever. And if you are looking to get started, just look at what people are doing and what is succeeding. And if that fits within what you want to create and that aligns with you in some way, then just go out and try it until you get it right.
So a combination of research and
Big
trial
time.
and error, essentially.
Big time. I mean, there's no point in closing your eyes for 2 years and saying, I'm just going to put out what I want to put out. Because if no one likes it, you might have just wasted 2 years, and now you're really unmotivated and you're going to throw it in the bin.
Yeah, I mean, if no one sees your work, then you're going to end up just wasting your time. So much time that goes into content production, whether you're producing it for social media specifically, or you're producing it for yourself, but you're still having to put it on social media and think of this, think of that.
Of course.
If you're not doing it with the intention of getting it seen, then what are you doing it for?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that goes back to a little bit to the why in general. It's like, well, why do we put shit out on social media in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, why? Does it really impact whether 2 people see this or 200,000 people see this? Right? You're going to be making it either way. But as more people see it, you get more motivated to go make more. Do you know what I mean? If you wake up in the morning and you posted a photo, a reel, whatever it is, and you're like, oh shit, this has got 10,000 likes or whatever. Now, of course, that does dwindle over time. I don't look at likes or whatever anymore. And that I used to be glued to it, right? But you're motivated to be like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go out and shoot again. Let's see if we can replicate that. Now, whether that's healthy or not, I'm not sure, because it gets to the point where it's like, okay, now it's just like a constant dopamine hit. And it's like, okay,
chasing likes.
You gotta find a balance, of course. But yeah, it's it's an interesting space, and it's going to continue to evolve. I can't tell you where it's going to be in 2 years, in 3 years, in 6 months. All it takes is one new platform to come up, and the whole space has changed. Look at TikTok. That came out of pretty much nowhere. Of course, Vine kicked it off. But that came up, and then Instagram's like, okay, we're changing the whole business model to short form video
Okay,
now.
all right.
And that happened in the grand scheme of things pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty much overnight. Like
Yeah.
last year was, I think they changed the algorithm, or they announced changes every 3 months or something.
crazy,
It's freaking
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
How are we going to keep up with this? What about the education then? That is obviously a one of your major pillars. Where do you see that going? What are your plans for that?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think there's also a lot more intention behind that content as well, because there's the fact of like, okay, I want to be able to answer questions that I would have wanted to be answered then.
Why?
Because when you're starting out, there's so many unknowns. It's a very gate-kept community, you know.
Hence why I started this podcast.
There you go. So, for example, you're looking from the outside in, you're like, fuck, where the hell do I start, right? Like, how in general, right? And so I'm like, fuck it. Let's just put it all out there, right? Now, of course, it's going to take time. I can't cover every topic like that. I know, right?
God,
content creators. But, yeah, it's just one of those things, like, I want to make sure that there will be an area where you can go and you can learn so much. Am I going to be able to teach everything? No, because I don't know everything. But I want to teach everything I know. But where I see that going, I see probably a shift more into video. It's a little harder to teach it because there's a lot more variables. Like video editing, for example, like there's maybe like, I don't know, 5 to 10 major platforms you can edit on between your phone and your computer. With photo editing, you've got Lightroom for color and all that kind of stuff, and then Photoshop. That's it. They're the two biggest players, and I would say they're, in reality, the only two you'd really go with or take seriously.
I tried Capture One once, and it was once.
Yeah, there you go. Capture once.
Capture once.
I used Capture One as well when I was working at that real estate job, and it's got some good features. We still never edited on it though. Like it's purely Lightroom and Photoshop. And the fact that Lightroom's free on your phone, it opens up a huge market. So doing like Premiere Pro tutorials where Premiere Pro has like 100,000 things you can do in there. Lightroom, of course, there's different things, but the main stuff is just all on that develop tab, and it's very easy to teach. But I do see a shift into video a little bit more. Just being able to kind of package that in a way is going to be something that I'm going to, I guess, have to work out. I also see that moving not just with the photography stuff, but also with social media. So teaching more about social media as well, because that's a big question I get all the time as well. You know, it's not just like, oh, how did you take that photo? What did you do to take that photo? What camera do you use? What lens do you use? It's like, how do you grow? How can I start? How do you do this as a job? How is this a business? This, that, and the other. And then you've got business as well. So it, like I said before, you know, following what the market wants, it's still all very relative. Someone starting out as a photographer wants to learn Lightroom. They want to learn Photoshop. They want to learn camera gear and all that kind of stuff. And then when they get to a point, it's not going to be relevant to everyone. They might want to learn a little bit about social media and a little bit about business. Maybe a lot. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it moving forward. But I don't see that content stopping anytime soon. I love that content. My editor, you know who you are. He absolutely crushes it. And the workflow we have together is amazing. That was the best thing I ever did was bringing him on.
He's here in Bali?
He is, yeah. Not for long. He'll be leaving in like a month, but that's fine. And yeah,
you can work.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But yeah, that's been a game changer. I love that. I love sitting down, being able to talk in front of a camera. You also get better at it over time. You just genuinely do. So I think it's also a very important skill to have, being able to talk on camera and in front of a microphone.
These days, for sure.
Of course, you know, and not only for creating content, for things like Zoom calls.
Yep.
You know, for things like this, right? Mm-hmm. Where you could really, like, you're looking around and you're like, oh, what do I say? Like,
bit of awkward.
You know, like, you're all tense. Yep. Like, no, you don't want that. So to be able to do that and, you know, to be able to just quickly put something up on an Instagram story, to be able to deliver some value, to be able to do something on whatever the case, it's valuable to have that skill. So yeah, regardless if it leads absolutely nowhere, which it probably won't, and it's not looking like my educational content is leading nowhere, I'll at least get good at talking in front of a camera. At a minimum, right? At a minimum.
There's something about education and you know, you kind of understand why teachers become teachers. even if your education content is not in person, I'm sure it might be at some point in that. But you're getting feedback. It's a loop, right? You don't just put it out there and you never see it again. You get DMs, likes, messages, requests, all of that stuff you get through and there's a level of satisfaction that can't be, even if it's just someone saying thank you so much, like you really helped me with that. There's a level of satisfaction that can't be gained with anything else through that.
No, you're spot on, and it's interesting you say that because I obviously would have never started the education stuff if I never did like the travel photography stuff and the travel videography stuff, because I would have nothing to teach, right? Yeah. I'd be sitting there going, I want to teach, but I have nothing to show for it. So also keeping that up, keeping the travel reels and all that kind of stuff up, it's making sure I'm always out shooting. It's making sure I'm always, like, I've got fresh information in my mind all the time that I can go and share this. You know what I mean? If something changes on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I can cover it. New camera gear comes out, I can cover it. New whatever it is, like, I'm always learning myself. And so I'm taking that from the field and then I'm throwing it into a video. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a bit of another reason why I enjoy the travel reels so much as well, because I'm just consistently learning.
Absolutely.
I don't know, there's something there for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting we bring this up. It's very interesting.
Let's swing back to photography a little bit. Is there, I love hearing about inspirations and how people what was the, oh my God, that's an amazing image. Was there a moment of, I know, we heard about your kind of start in videos and YouTube and stuff. With photography specifically, do you have a favorite image, for example? Do you have a favorite image of your own? Or is there are one or two photographers out there that you kind of not idolize, but gain a lot of inspiration from?
Got you. Yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite creator as a photographer right now, for a few reasons, is a guy called With Luke.
Oh my God, yeah, his stuff is amazing.
His stuff's not only outrageous, he's insanely consistent. Like, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when. He's always uploading. I could probably between once to twice a day. I obviously don't
really
check it consistently,
yeah,
but like
it's quality content.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It never dips.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure in his eyes he might be like, oh, this image is better than that one, whatever the case. We always overjudge our own work, but like his images are stunning. They are a really good balance of a lot of things, but the consistency is something that I am like, fuck. Like, it's one thing to take one good photo a handful of times, but he's uploading insane photos, I would say more or less on a daily basis. And to me, I'm just like, dude.
You're just going from one place to another, to another, to another. I mean, he must be working as an ass. And he has masterclass as well. He has loads of, other kind of passive income streams that I see. I've checked out his work before, and like presets, obviously, and stuff like that. And, just to build a masterclass, as we know, George's done it and other people who've done it. Like, that's a lot of work. How is he going to all these places, working with all these brands, getting all this amazing content, and like you said, the consistency is he's crazy. Always just going.
Yeah, and that's something that I like. That I'm like, wow, like I commend you for that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know him at all.
English, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just like, wow, I'm impressed.
Do you have a favorite image of his?
I don't have a favorite image of his specifically. He uploads so much, it wouldn't, even if it was 3 months ago, I wouldn't be able to find it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, to me, it's just like, wow. And I think with an image as well, it's interesting. It's one frame once. That's it. It doesn't move. There's nothing. And it was really interesting when Reels came along. And just very quickly, it was always like, this is such short form content. Like, it's nothing. And it's like, photography to me is the shortest form content possible, right? Okay, you can look at it for 30 minutes, but it's one frame of one giant scene, right? And I find it really interesting. I think for me, like photos, it's more the story behind it. Not everyone knows it, but like, the story of like how you got there, what went wrong, and like all the shit you had to put up with just to get the shot. That's what matters in a photo for me. So like, I don't think I look at a I look at a photo, I'm like, wow, that's my favorite photo from someone else. It's more like, you know, I can look at a photo from a friend or like a photo from one of my trips, and I'm like, fuck, I really like this photo. Yes, this might not be perfect, that one might not be perfect, whatever, but I just love the story behind it, the experience I had, the adventure. And I can tell that in the caption, amazing, but it's never going to be, you know, what it was. And I can only imagine this guy, you know, with Luke. His name's just Luke, but you know, some of the stories he would have would be outrageous. Like, you know, I could only imagine. So
does he do much BTS stuff? I haven't seen any of it, and I totally agree with you. And even for myself, I love looking back on like every project I do. I'll try and get BTS, whether it's myself or I bring someone with me. Yeah. Just because A, I want to share it, but B, like I want to look back on it in a few years, 10, 20 years or whatever, and just go, oh yeah, that was an amazing experience.
Dude, absolutely.
Because memory is fine, my memory's shit, but memory's okay, but it's nothing like that visceral effect of film, of video.
No, you're spot on.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to see with Luke, if you're watching, probably not, but if you are, with Luke. With Luke, yeah. With Luke, yeah.
There's a few of them, isn't there?
Yeah. I Am Luke is another one.
Yeah?
Isn't it? Is it I Am Luke? Luke, whichever Luke, if you're watching.
All the Lukes.
All the Luke.
There's a few of them. But yeah, I mean, hey, either way, like, yeah, his work's amazing. And
what are you most proud of in terms of your work?
Like as an image,
video.
Man, what I'm most proud of.
Your appearance. Nothing.
Yeah, just fucking nothing. No, that's an interesting one. I think younger me would be most proud of my YouTube channel. You know, like starting off very young and being like, fuck, how do I get there? Seeing it now be at like, you know, it's like 11K subs. Like, you know, 13-year-old me would be like, fuck yeah, that's crazy. And there's a long way to go, don't get me wrong. But it's one of those things where it's like, man, yeah, I think...
I loved your showreel yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah, the cinematic showreel. Awesome.
Man, I appreciate
all
that.
your stuff's awesome. I mean, you know, it's funny. I end up watching your beginner tips. It's
really?
Yeah. I mean, more about how you I'm more interested in how you kind of present and communicate.
Yeah.
But there's always stuff like, oh yeah, I didn't quite know that. Or, you know, that's what I love about photography. With what's out there at the moment, and so many different ways to do things, whether it's artistic expression, the technical side of things, the equipment, whatever it is. There's so many different ways of doing it. And, you know, even just learning the basics. There'll be things that you don't know, even if you've been doing it for 20 years.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'll watch some videos sometimes, and I'm like, I've been doing this for a while. Like, I should know that. Like, I'm just not going to tell anyone. Just pretend. Oh, what? You don't do that? Like, fuck, are you kidding? I learned that last night. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're spot on, dude.
But yeah, proud of your YouTube channel. I mean, that's a nice answer, because that's a body of work. And that's, you know, and just from experience, I know how much work has to go into that, and to do it well consistently, like that is.
I struggle with the consistency. The shorts are one thing, but the long form stuff's
How often do you post?
Man, like in an ideal world, it's once a week. Right now, it's probably at like once every 2 weeks. And the thing is that pisses me off a lot is there's no reason that I can't do that. I live here. I make my own. There's no reason why I cannot do that. And yet, at the end of the week, I'm just like, I just ran out of time, and it's just such a bullshit excuse. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I would say for sure. I mean, my favorite image is one from those waterfalls in Vietnam, by all means, and that's just purely the background, the story.
Do you have
I got the absolutely. I think it's pinned on my Instagram actually.
Okay. Let me have a look.
I can.
What is the? I mean, you told us a little bit about
it's this
how you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
So yeah, that one is. Man,
was this the original post?
That's the original post. Yeah, you got it. And that's the second time I've been there. So I've been there twice. And man, going there twice, the second time was something different. You know, I did it all by myself. I had no like tour company or whatever like the first time. And it was just a rough experience. I was going through some shit, and yeah, I can remember I woke up at like 5 a.m. to go get sunrise there, just to realize the bike that I rented the night before had no fuel in it. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So I'm waiting at this petrol station for like 2 hours. Sun's already up and it's still not open. It's the only one in town and it's blinking. And I'm like, man, do I have 5Ks in this? Do I have 20Ks in this? I don't know. So I missed the sunrise and I go and shoot this other location first. And the other location was amazing. Just this random lake and it reflected. It was crazy. And then I go back to my hotel. I'm vegetarian at that stage. So I had like a packet oats, this horrible soy milk, and like some nuts or whatever it was. That's what I was eating for 3 days. And then I went back in the afternoon. I went up there and I got that shot. And it was such a weird feeling. You know, I'd been hyping this up for so long. Like, I really just want to go back and drone. I want to drone. The weather conditions were horrible. Yet I was like, man, I fucking made it. Like, I made it back. You know, I was 20 at that stage. And I'm like sitting in northern rural Vietnam on the Chinese border. I'm like, fuck, this is crazy.
How did you set it up? Was it tripod and camera? Drone.
Yeah, drone.
It doesn't seem like there's much elevation, but I think that's because it looks level with the mountains in the background. Yeah. So it's kind of...
it's a crazy place.
Didn't know whether you're on a hill, kind of looking there.
Yeah, no, there wasn't much elevation because it's kind of like built up on the left on the Vietnamese side. So as you take off, you kind of just fly out and then up a little bit. But yeah, that's by far my favorite image, just because I was like, I really set my mind to that. I really wanted to get back. And it's not just an easy place. Oh, I just want to, go down to Canggu Beach or whatever it is. Like, there was a fucking mission to get there both times. So it was sick to just kind of tick that off and be like, fuck yeah.
What drone was it?
Mavic 2 Pro.
Okay.
Still got the same one.
Still like it?
Yeah.
Give us some drone tips and tricks. I mean, it's such a hot topic these days, and people love using the drone, right? To capture their aerial shots.
For photos or for videos?
Either.
Ooh.
Whichever takes your pick. What can people learn from your drone usage?
Okay, I got you for sure. If your drone can change the aperture, don't shoot at the lowest aperture. Shoot it like at least 3.5 or f4 for sharper images. I would highly recommend, if you're posting these on Instagram, and you should probably do it even if you're not, take at least 3 images. So like take one looking up a little bit, take one in the middle of the frame, and then take one looking down. So you can stitch them together and get a really nice vertical shot. That's how that shot was taken. And then for video, in my opinion, drone shots that kind of like they're flying and then they're like while they're recording, they're like turn a little bit or whatever. It just looks so shit and cheap. Take one shot with one thing in mind and then move on to the next one. So whether you're like, okay, I want to fly like this. Okay, got that shot. And then we can like do an orbital pan. Okay, we got that shot. And then I want to do like a revealing shot or like back, whatever the case, just do one fluid motion. And this can be like, you're moving up and to the left and turning the camera by all means. But don't start and stop in between, like while you're recording, and then use that in the footage. I just think it looks horrible.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I would
so
say
you just clip them all together, essentially.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, for sure. And then you get like a bit more of a dynamic thing, and it doesn't just look like you've just bought a drone and you're going on holidays, and that's like, oh, cool. Let's just put it up for 30 minutes and record the whole thing. Like do it with a little bit of intention. I would say they're like my 3 go-to drone tips. Excellent. I can tell you right now that's going to become a YouTube channel.
You heard it here first.
There you go. We might just clip it from this.
It's a good idea, actually.
There you go.
Well, thank you, mate, for joining us. We're out of time. I'll leave you with one question, and then I'm going to ask off air. I'll ask you to write down a question for the next photographer. But kind of a curveball question, but I like to kind of put people on the spot at the end.
Put me on the spot.
So your house is on fire.
Okay.
After saving, if you're living with family and loved ones, like you've saved them, or saving the people that are inside,
everyone's safe.
Everyone's safe.
Amazing.
You have time to go back in and grab something, grab an item. What would it be and why?
It would be my SSDs.
Would it?
Yeah, and then they stay together the whole time.
Do they?
Yeah. So I would go in there, grab them. Everything else can go.
What SSDs do you use?
I use Samsung T7 SSDs, and then
they're the small ones.
Yeah, they're pretty small.
Yeah.
So like you can pick up like 8 terabyte, like that.
Sweet.
Very simple, very easy. But I would pick up those because
write that down. Samsung.
They have my life's work on it. So
TS17s.
No, just T7.
T7.
You got it. They just hold everything, and if I lost those, they're all backed up. But like, I don't know, I wouldn't 100%. That would be the first thing I would be like going for, and then maybe if I can, I'd get my passports, because not to travel. Like, okay, yeah, you've got that benefit, but all the stamps in there.
Why would you want an Australian passport?
Mate, I've got Australian and New Zealand. How many do you have?
I have 3,
Ooh.
but all UK.
What do you mean all UK? Or you got
Well, I have to have multiple passports as a pilot, because if we're applying for a visa to go somewhere, I don't have a passport, so I need another one. And then somehow I got a third. I think it was something to do with a Chinese visa or something. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I got 3, but they're all coming up for expiry.
So you got 3 British passports.
3 current valid British passports, all with and they're all running out of pages as well. So I need to fucking sort that shit out, actually. And Jordan's just done it. It took him 11 weeks. So luckily I've got other ones I can travel with, but yeah, it's a pain. But interesting, good answer. I like it. SDs and passports.
Yeah, for sure.
On that, mate. Thanks so much for coming.
Mate, thank you for having me.
Till the next time.
Hey, there you go.
Fist bump.
Absolutely.
Cheers, buddy.